I love it. And we have the newest member of our team you just mentioned, Jason McCourty. Jason, Super Bowl champ. We're so lucky to have you. Thank you so much for being with us. We're going to have a lot of fun.
And it's nice to see Dan, too. He's in a festive spirit, to say the least.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell he's doing.
Dan, I got to say two things. First of all, if someone can tell me which camera I'm struggling in the studio, I'm looking all the wrong places.
Yes.
But Dan, you got a haircut.
Obviously.
Very proud of you. Yep, look good, ready to go. Dan, I like the fit. I like the tie, and I like that whole combination.
Miles,
fall.
There's navy pants to go with it, too. So, we got a bunch of color going on. Stephen A., you started off the year. My wife picked out this outfit, obviously.
Tiffany did a great job.
Yeah, thank you. She's going to be ticked at you.
She picked the tie? She picked the tie?
Of course she did. She picked everything.
That's
right.
No, he looked
Get yourself
good.
right.
No.
Can't backpedal now.
I didn't know the wife.
You'll get used to it.
The wife picked it.
Get used to it.
I didn't know the wife picked it. If that's your story, stick to it. It'll save you every week because we know you struggle in that department.
Dan, is this a new barber?
Nope, same barber. My guy Marvin.
Marvin hooked it up. That's what I like to see. Okay.
Molly sounds surprised on the haircut.
Can we get to some? Can we get to some football?
You know
we can't be talking too much about how Dan
Jason's
looks.
balls are beautiful, so he doesn't need to worry about it.
All right.
No barber for me.
Elvis wannabe.
What did you say, Dan? And then we'll start talking about football because I'm pretty pumped for today's game.
I mean, this is weird, but usually I bring my hair to the right. Now I bring it to the left, you know?
Yeah, it's better. It's working. Just roll with it. To the left, like Beyonce said. All right, guys, the NFL season. Steve, it's so good to be in studio with you, Stephen A. Kicks off tonight with a rematch of last season's AFC Championship game when Lamar Jackson and the Ravens will look to avenge their loss against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in Arrowhead on their quest for their three-peat. Looking back to the AFC Championship game between the two teams last season, it was not a great game from Lamar in the loss. He threw just one passing TD combined with an interception, and on top of that, his 54 completion percentage was his worst in any game last season. Oh, Stephen A., tonight's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, how important is it for Lamar to beat Mahomes tonight?
Well, I think it's important. I really, really do. I think from a psychological perspective, if you're knocking on the door of a Super Bowl championship, you got to your first AFC championship game last year, you want to send a message if you're Lamar Jackson, you're coming. Yeah, you're a two-time league MVP. We know how Herculean you are as a talent in the National Football League, but there has been a conspicuous roadblock.
Yeah.
Okay, and it showed up in the name of Patrick Mahomes last year, but it's been that way for Lamar Jackson throughout his career. Patrick Mahomes, 5 career starts versus the Ravens defense, 4-on-1 record, 73% completion percentage, 344 yards passing on average, 13 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. Been sacked 6 times, but nevertheless, he's had his way with the Baltimore Ravens winning 4 to 5 matchups. And so you're Lamar Jackson, that's the backdrop you have. All 5 matchups were against you. And when Lamar Jackson is 1-4, only completed 56% of his passes, 204 to his 344 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 6 turnovers, 3 interceptions, 3 fumbles, 14 sacks, by the way. So Kansas City's defense has figured out a way to have their way against Lamar Jackson. You want to win a Super Bowl championship. The Kansas City Chiefs have put the world on notice. They're the reigning 2-time defending NBA and NFL champions, Super Bowl champions. They're going for a three-peat for the first time in decades. We haven't seen it since the days of Green Bay.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson has got to figure out a way to get over the hump. Tonight would be a good start. You don't need to be opening the season getting your butt whipped by Patrick Mahomes.
It would be a good start, and I love that. And I look at this situation, and it would be a nice start, but I'm not putting too much into week 1, game 1 of the NFL season. For Lamar Jackson, he's beaten the Kansas City Chiefs before in the regular season. Them winning this game, yes, it shows we can beat them this year, but it has no influence on if these two teams meet each other in the conference championship game. You want to go out and put your best foot forward, but Stephen A., you know, growing up, you go to the playground. You go play one-on-one or you play in a team game. If a kid beats you and takes your basketball, the next day you come back and you win the game, but he goes home with your basketball, he's still looking at you like, I own you. I look at this for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're like, we beat you guys when it mattered most in a conference championship, which led to us winning another Super Bowl. What happens in week 1 of the season doesn't change anything from last year. Yes, you can say psychological. They'll start to look at themselves in a different way. I don't think this Baltimore Ravens team feels inferior to the Kansas City Chiefs. They know they fell short a year ago, but it's not going to break their confidence or change anything or their outlook of what they think that they can do this upcoming season.
I would have whooped Stephen A. in one-on-one at the playground.
You had game?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I actually would like to see that. I feel like that
Molly.
could be a fair matchup. So I know you're a little younger, but I would actually like to see that.
Listen, I got bad knees and I'm 56 years old, but let me say this. If I was healthy enough to play, bottom line is ain't nobody running out of the end zone going to beat me. That ain't going to happen. But we can move on. We can move on.
That was low.
Just imagine when it happened.
I love my brother. I love my brother Dio. I love my brother Dio, so I can say that. Y'all can't say that about him, but I can. That's my brother right there.
Just imagine when it happens. Dude, Baltimore's got to win this game. They got to prove that they can do it. We sit there and go, well, he's done it. He's done it once. The Ravens have done it once. They've had multiple opportunities to do it. And I want to see, I go back in the day, at some point, Peyton Manning had to beat Brady. At some point, Phillip Rivers had to beat Brady. Big Ben had to beat them. And I've been the biggest champion of, they did not lose this game, Baltimore, because of Lamar. They lost it because I don't think they executed and called the game the way that it was necessary, right? So the Ravens got to prove that they can beat the Chiefs. Here's where I get stuck on. One loss has been one-sided. I think they lost by 14 in 2021. Baltimore, other than that, they've lost by 3, they've lost by 5, and they've lost by 1. At some point, we got to get over the hump. At some point, that play's got to get made.
But, Dan, the question, listen, I get where you're coming from, but what about those who would sit up there and say, yeah, it wasn't your fault, but you are Lamar Jackson and y'all still ended up with only 10 points in the AFC Championship game on your home turf in Baltimore? What about that?
That's fair. That is fair. And we've talked about that. One, that Kansas City defense last year was spectacular. It was fantastic. Two, if the Zay Flowers punch out by L'Jarius Sneed doesn't happen, then the 10 points isn't a conversation and we're in a tie ball game. So I understand the element of Lamar had to do more, and that is fair, but it wasn't like you sit there and go, yeah, Lamar just didn't get it done.
Okay.
They lost that game because of him. This isn't tennis.
That may be fair, but Dan and Jason, welcome to the show. Let me tell you something right now, bro. I don't want to hear all that. Oh, the defense is elite. Yeah, we know that. Figure it out. You knew they were elite coming into the AFC Championship game. You had a new offensive coordinator, Monken, last year, okay? You were running the ball effectively and forgot to do that in the AFC Championship game. Lamar Jackson did enough to be a 2-time league MVP, right? You can't do, listen, y'all know this better than me. And I'm not saying he's choking. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not accusing him of choking. But what we pay attention to is when you do what you do continuously well, that defines who you are. But then all of a sudden, the biggest moment arrives, and you're not that person. No, nobody expects that. Now, you want to tell me that Lamar Jackson scores 20 points. Listen, that was an elite defense. I got you. 10 points? You got to figure out a way how to score more than 10 points.
And wait, one second, Dan and Jason, before you guys jump in. Also to bolster that point, Stephen A. Mahomes, he shows up when he plays Lamar. He has his best QBR against any starting quarterback that he's played 4 times.
And Baltimore defense
against Lamar Jackson. So he plays up for the moment, Dan.
But my question to you guys, if they win week 1 and Lamar comes out, he plays a really good game,
we're still
handing the ball up there, we're still going to question, all right, is this team, can they do it this year? Do they have the necessary pieces when they get to that moment and it is a conference championship game? Is Monken going to give the ball to Derrick Henry enough? We're still going to have the same question. So that's what I'm saying. It's not imperative that they win this game. So it answers every question.
I'm talking about from a psychological perspective. Y'all both know this better than me. If Lamar Jackson comes out tonight and shows out, let's just say, for example, it's something reminiscent of what Josh Allen did in the AFC divisional playoff game against Patrick Mahomes years ago, when it was the 40-36, something like that, right? When that happened, okay, we looked at Josh Allen a bit differently and Buffalo a bit differently because we saw something and we said, he's coming. Right, which is why it's been such a disappointment, the drop-off over the last couple of years, and now Stephon Diggs has departed. If Lamar Jackson comes out there tonight and balls out against Patrick Mahomes, let's say, for example, oh, my God, he throws for over 400 yards and puts on an absolute show. Don't tell me we're going to still sit back and say the same thing we saying about Baltimore. All of a sudden, we're going to look at them and say, damn, if it's like that,
nah, we will.
Baltimore can win this thing.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
To that point, if right now, if Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are facing each other tomorrow in a playoff game, do you feel better about Josh Allen because of how he performed in some of those regular season games against the Kansas City Chiefs?
No, because of what I've seen over the last couple of years. But I'm saying in the immediate aftermath of how he performed in that playoff game against Patrick Mahomes, you automatically have folks who had elevated the Buffalo Bills, to Super Bowl championship status. Because they were like, yo, if Josh Allen gonna do that, oh my Lord, look out for the Bills. And that's why we were so disappointed when they didn't live up to our expectations, because we lived off of what we saw him do in the playoffs against Patrick Mahomes.
Jason, I'll put it to you this way. I think if Lamar and the Ravens go there and they don't do much and they're not that impressive, folks are already going to write them off. Versus if it's the flip, that we would still believe in them, but I feel like people are already kind of shaky, so they have the opportunity to make people believers, even though week one we know, people are still a little rusty getting things together.
Yeah, because week one is a liar. I still think there are a lot of people that are looking, you just said it. Oh, they have Derrick Henry. Now they have it figured out. And a lot of people are still going to say that. And they're going to say, you know what, if they fall short, Derrick Henry rushes for maybe 75 yards. They're like, you know what? That was just week one with new offensive coordinator Todd Monken for Derrick Henry. This is his first time having a weapon like that. Wait till they put it together. This team is still figuring it out with a new piece that they have in the backfield. So I still think time's going to tell, but I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket in week one.
Real quick, do you feel like that's the piece they really needed, guys?
What?
Derrick Henry to add to the running game? Or do you feel like they should have brought another type of offensive weapon like a wide receiver or tight end? Was that even the right move to get them over the hump?
No, Derrick Henry was a luxury addition. That was a necessity. I think most fans that watched that AFC Championship game were shocked of how it played out, because we didn't think that Kansas City was this incredibly superior football team. It's just the way that they called the game. But now for me, Molly, I will say this. I do think there is finally someone that Baltimore has trust in that big moment, in the big game, to say, put it in their hands. Because forever, it's been Lamar. And you can make the case that in your AFC Championship game, Kansas City, but just put it in our best player's hands, and he'll make it happen. And it didn't happen for Lamar and them last year.
Yeah.
The man is 250 pounds and runs at 22 miles per hour. That's Derrick Henry that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
This brother is elite. He's a man-child. He's a man amongst boys in many, many situations. You use the word luxury, Dan. All right, I roll with that because he is a luxury. But he was also a necessity only from the standpoint of having something that makes you say, we don't necessarily have to rely entirely on Lamar Jackson to save the day for us. We got somebody else that can break loose and potentially say, put the ball in my hands and I'll get it done for you.
All right.
Here's the reality, Miles, and Stephen A. and J-Mac.
Yeah.
A lot of people expect Baltimore to be a really good football team this year, likely into the playoffs and potentially AFC champ. There's question marks about this team. There's a new defensive coordinator. They lost Patrick Queen. There's 3 new offensive linemen. The addition of Derrick Henry. We think they're going to be really good, but they got to go prove that they can go beat we know Kansas City's going to be good.